guessing. You're guessing, okay. So when you guess, do you think about these rewarded video ads that apps use to monetize the users? No. Okay, we will come to this very soon. But yeah, it's quite fast. It's a new way of advertising. Since a year, gained really traction, and by now it's mainstream. But it's also a different kind of advertising, so we need to look different at different optimizing tools or presentations. So my goal for this presentation is quite simply, I want to enable you, when you look at these channels, when you evaluate first performance, I want to enable you to ask the right question, because this is really what it's all about, right? What you need to do to optimize always depends on where you get the traffic from, but when you know where to look at, it already goes a very long way. So, brief agenda, we talked about asking the right questions, right? First, it's who is this guy, who I am, then what is rewarded UA, very quickly, brief pitch. Then we focus on the question, why is my rewarded UA campaign not working, or why is our competitors working better? And then at the end, I want to enable you to ask the question, what can we do to increase the usability for progression? But we get there, this all sounds cryptic to you. First of all, who I am, I make it in pictures. I'm born and raised in Cologne, the city of small ears and big talks. It's also where the Gamescom is happening. Right? I made my first dollar with affiliate marketing, selling online courses from the shady German sales coach. So I'm in this digital marketing industry since quite a while. Then joined Coca-Cola, where I then built up the B2B email channel. Then joined FreeCash and Media, which is one of the fastest, or the fastest growing rewarded UA platform in the past year. Doing very good. And I left the company at the beginning of the year and started my own consulting boutique together with some friends, acquaintances from the industry, with the mission to bring more transparency and more best practices into these very fast growing but still very transparent market. And this is what it's all about. So the first question we hear from advertisers when going to a consulting session is, what is rewarded today? It's still another big topic. And I did not brought imagery, but rewarded today is a new UA channel, so a channel to get users, right? And usually our apps get users is via classic marketing on Meta, right, on Instagram, on TikTok, and they're showing creative and they want them to install. That's the mission. And reward UA is different, because what we show the user is the game, and we also show him several levels, several things to do in this game. And when he does these things, he gets money. If you reach level 10, he gets $1. If you reach level 100, he gets $10. And if you reach level 1000, he gets $100. Obviously, reaching level 1000 is super hard because they always have limited time, it's usually 30 days. And the user knows that, so they come in and make in-app purchases, watch all these ads to generate value to go to these deep levels. This way, rewarded user acquisition brings ads, mobile games mostly currently, paying users. It's a UA channel with built-in activation features, which is very interesting. So, we've got this covered. Now, the second question, why my competitors succeeding with it, and I'm not, what are they doing differently? And this is also one of the first questions we wanted to answer when we built this consulting boutique. And in order to understand why things are maybe not working so good like for competitors, we need to understand the user funnel. So how does a user get from first touch point to playing our game to finishing the campaign, and how it differs between traditional methods and rewarded UA. In traditional advertising, which happens on, like I said, Instagram, TikTok, via ad blocking varieties, we call it self-attribution channels. So channels that do everything for you, right? The funnel looks like this. The user goes into the app, let's say Instagram, they scroll through it, have all this exciting stuff, then they encounter the first ad of your game. Hopefully they'll convert, but usually it takes them a lot of time. We always talk about 7 touch points in digital marketing to convert. They visit the store page and they install the game. You see we have very high conversion rate dropouts. 1% conversion rate of an ad like this is very good. That means on a traditional channel, user acquisition managers spend 90% of the time here, optimizing this creative, optimizing these little copies, optimizing who we show this to, how many people we want to show this to, right? And when they manage to install, the job is done, right? And it's product side, then it's the game side. Like I I said, the rewarded UA funnel is different. Users do not go on Instagram to see rewarded UA offers, they go on a rewarded UA platform. That means they're in the market, right? They go on this platform and they want to see the different offers and see what they can get from that. When they see an offer, let's say live streams, and they see, oh my god, I can earn up to $500, that sounds amazing. And also live streams sounds fun, I saw it somewhere on TV. Then they install, then they play the game, and then they start earning their first rewards.
What was the first touch point?
They go on the platform, the reward user acquisition platform itself. It's always a dedicated platform to showcase these offers.
And where are those?
Online. So their websites, their apps. I can show you some later. They play the game and they earn. I'll show you later how they earn exactly. Oh no, actually if you never seen it before, I'll show you how one of these structures look like. This is what the user sees before playing a game, right? They see, okay, I need to do this and get a little money very early, and I can get more and more money the deeper and deeper I progress in the game. So you go back. The user earns the first time, and we need to think about where's the user when he gets this reward. If this would be a traditional channel, and this would be the install goal for the UA manager. 80% is a very, very high rate, and so it's quite easy to make an install if you wanted to. And this would be the goal. I would have no reason to stand it at all. So what we need to look at is when the user earns the reward for the first time he gets money, he's not inside of the game, he's looking at the platform, he's looking at the structure to receive his cash, right? And so we have a switch in the channels he's actually using. And what happens after he gets his first reward is actually quite interesting, because they don't jump straight into the game and start playing the game. They think and consider it. They have two questions. Can I reach the next event? Because again, they pay for the money, right? And they want more money. And can I reach all the events I planned to in the beginning? And the example, can I get these $500 from Domino Dreams or live streams? And every time they earn again, this repeats. They're always constantly evaluate, can I still make it? Can I still get the money? Is it still worth my time? And this is a very crucial point, because this is where we spend the most time optimizing. We don't optimize on what we show the user before he plays the game, but which next steps do we show the user while he earns? Because this is where we got the conversion robots. So, to make this quite clear how the user funnels are differentiating between self-attributing channels, right? The campaign goals could be everything. When I work with Meta, we can say we want to many people see our ad, we want to say we want many spending users, we want to say we just want a lot of installs, right? So this is very diverse. As a classic outbound push marketing, we disrupt the user where he is right now. He's checking Instagram, he does not want to get advertised. So the main challenge with that is to maybe cut through the noise, right? Creative fatigue, so users don't care at some point for sure how it's the same. And we optimize on the creative, on the copies or the text and the App Store optimization. With Rewarded UA, we have just one campaign. Rewarded UA is a ROAS UA channel. That means we don't go for the high volume, we don't go for the high retention. We see that the money we invest gets back to 100% and we reach our ROAS goals. Rewarded UA is an inbound channel, means right, users are in the market when they come to this, they want to get advertised. And the main challenge is to guide them through this in-game progression, and we're doing this by optimizing the event structure. Which then brings me to the core of this presentation, is how do we optimize when we look at it. This is just a skeleton, and if you never looked at the performance of rewarded UA campaigns, it's a little bit confusing, but we are building it up more slowly. So before we start a rewarded UA campaign, we want to map out the progression between the day marks for that we want the user to achieve to get towards consistent LTV, or in this case $10. So we start by, okay, with 30 days where we reward. We want the user to be at least worth $10 in the 30 days. How do the user need to progress in their ROAS curve so we can get there? This is very important, because then we have like a brief skeleton, a brief map, what needs to happen so that we achieve our goal, right? We talked about strategic planning. And we can also put it in a graph, and it's like this. So once we map briefly what we want to do, what we want our users to do inside our game, we can already make some more insights. We can understand the state of the user better because the funnel is in water, where the funnel is in your game. We can translate ROAS drops, so like our campaign is underperforming, into actually underperforming events. We know exactly where it's underperforming, where to optimize. And we can actually build forecasting tools, because when you use your existing forecasting tools on rewarded to A campaigns, they're gonna love it. After 2 days, they forecast you a ROAS of 1,200% at the 120, because rewarded to A is just widely different, and the forecasting tools we used to now are not really valid in evaluating your campaign performance. Okay. Understanding the state of the user better, quickly to this, when we look at the user journey. Whenever a user enters a rewarded user campaign, it's the early reward stage. There's nothing much happening here. The user sees the game, plays it for the first time. It's still important that the game matches with what he thinks the game will be when he installs it. But they don't make too many purchases, they don't drop off to the retention phase. And the rewards are, like I said, very easy to get. Then we get to a stage where the user does not get rewarded so frequently anymore. That means we slowly take away the money aspect of why he's there, and we want him to actually come for the money but stay for the game, right? That's the mantra. And so this is where we start withdrawing some rewards and check if he still stays. Because he sees this late high rewards in the formal stage still as characteristic, I would say. In this phase, we usually see the first high retention drop-offs, right? Like after 7 days, the user starts to understand, can I really make it to the end of the structure? Can I really get the $500? And this is where they either stay or go. So here, many users leave, and the ones that stay, they make the purchases, right? They're fully committed, and they're ready to get the big bucks. Which leads us to the third stage. So whichever user makes it to the year, they committed, they want to get the money, they're ready to invest for it. If it's in a purchase monetized game, that means they buy these packages. If it's an ad revenue monetized game, that means they watch all these interstitials, try to get all these login bonuses to really make it as fast as they can. And it's quite exciting. We have user interviews, and they reported like this last 7 days when they're about to get these big bucks. It's extremely intense for them. It's extremely exciting. Users that use rewarded to A do usually a lot. And so this is what they're going for, right? It's like the next 3 days of my gameplay decide if I can buy a PlayStation 5 or not. It's the situation they have. And you need to be aware of that. So we have very low retention drop-offs. All the users stay usually after a certain event, and usually very high spikes and ROAS per user. We see this again at the event structure. You see here, right? First we have level 5, level 10, level 20. Super easy, you can do this in one game. Always like 5 levels between 10 levels between. Then you got 30, 40, 50, 10 levels, 70, 20 levels in between, 100, 30 levels in between, 150, 50 levels in between, 150 levels in between, 150 and 300. You see it gets harder and harder and harder. And this should also reflect in the structure. Also reward-wise, this pays in total $130, but this just gives them 35 cents. This just gives them $6. The big cash, where they're here for, is always here at the end. Okay, so we can now translate with this in mind. We can now translate our underperforming campaign. Like we run a campaign, we wanted the user to generate $10 for us, it's just $8 for us. We can translate this now while we're mapping the actual results to our forecast into underperforming time frames, which is very important because in this case, yes, the campaign did not really nice perform. We just got like 80% growth, well I mentioned that, but we're doing very good in the early stages. We're very, very, very good in the late stages, the closer to 0 the better. The only problem we have is somewhere here, and most importantly between D7 and D14. This is very heavily miscalculated user behavior, and this is where we need to optimize for. So the campaign is not bad. These events are a problem, right? Or these day marks are a problem. It's not an event yet, which we're gonna change. because, like I said, it's all about the events. When we built our first structure, I created a big slide how to get these numbers and how to build the first structure. It's quite simple, so I'll just tell you. So at the end, we want the user in this example to generate $10, right? And we want them to generate these $10 in 30 days with rewarded user acquisition. That means we look for users in our game that are already existing that generated these $10 in 60 days. We look at the events they encountered over the 60 days and what the progression between this was, and then we just cut all this time by half, because a rewarded user is usually double as fast as a normal user. And we map these completion times, calculated to our progression map that we made in the beginning, right? We have this 1 day to the 1 mark, 7 days to the 7 mark, and so far, and so on. This is our first map. When we have the events, we know what we want the user to do, and now we run the first campaign. And we keep with the same scenario. A campaign is not performing so super crazy nice. We have a rewards program. And while we before were able to say, hey, it's somewhere between D7 and D14, we can now exactly pinpoint, A, we have not an issue over the whole campaign. Our issue is between 10 and 15. There is something tremendously going wrong, and we want to fix that. So, when you're working with rewarded user acquisition channels, you usually have an account manager. The least of them are self-serving. And some of them even work with CPI cost models, so you don't really need to you just give them a value aiming to $6 and not 10 back. If this is the case, if you're running on CPI but they're not self-serving, then your job is like done. When you tell your account manager this insight that you saw, you're already doing better than 60% of all your damage. But if you're running with a CPE cost model, it means you actually need to pay the user for what events they reach. Or you want to be better than 80% of all your amateurs, the next step will be relevant. And the next step is, how do we actually optimize based on these insights? And the first question we need to ask is, what's the problem, right? Because you see the ROAS is not working, but ROAS is a variable. ROAS is sitting together of RPD, so how much is the user generating as a user base, and retention. These are the two variables we have. And we need to check, where's the problem? Do we have a problem with the RPD, so an activation problem, or do we have a retention problem, so users don't stay? Once we get these insights, there's a general rule of thumb we always use. If activation, so RPD, is the problem, we need to make the next step more attractive, right? And if the retention is the problem, we need to make the next step easier. General rule of thumb. When I'm talking about making it more attractive or more easier, we need to think about where's the user right now, right? The user looks at the structure and he looks at the next event. And in the stock market or everywhere in the world, you cannot know how long it will actually take. So what we really want to do is not to actually make it more attractive or actually make it more easier. We always want to work on the perceived likelihood of achieving the next event. It's about the perception. It's about what the user thinks based on the information he has and based on what forecast he does. And this is where the whole magic is happening. So in practice, what can we exactly do if we have certain PPI drops in the stages? We have this early reward stage, like the first 5 to 7 days. Here the user just wants to see if the game is like expected, right? If we have heavy problems activating the user here, there's one single reason. It's because the user thinks this whole thing is way too easy. You can do it without making purchases, without putting in the extra effort. So we need to make the mid-mastery part harder. In this case, we need to decrease the likelihood of achievement. So he's more motivated to actually commit to it monetary or with his resources and of time. If they're already drop off here, if you have a high retention problem and 40% of the users are actually getting to this stage, then there is actually this technical problem or problem of the journey before. So maybe it's really a time to optimize your creative on these platforms, optimize the copy, what you say, and check if your tech is actually working. Right? Because when users come in and they expect a reward in the first 10 minutes, and they do the thing, but they don't get the money, they leave obviously, that's why they're here at the first place. For mid-mastery, so the descent to the 14, the 21 stage, is the user wants to find out like how and if I can reach the late events, right? Can I get these 500 bucks? What do I need to do? And if the activation is a problem, we want to increase the payout, we want to increase the reward of these later events. And if the retention is a problem, we want to make it a little bit easier or more gradual for them. You can always add new events. If we see a lot of people drop off between level 10 and level 15, what we usually do is add level 13 as a reward. And so we have a little more reward loops in between that keep them engaged. Keep in mind whenever you add new events or whenever you make it actually easier, the campaign is going to cost you more because the more you give back to users, the higher are your costs, right? So this is a very sensitive level to optimize on. Late stage is then the late form mode. They're really on the last mile right now. They want to either reach the late events or they want to skip to the next game. What we need to do if we have activation problems is we increase the payout of the so-called FOMO event. If we look at this structure, we see one event that stands out. It's this. Here you need to get 1,000 for $50. It's like 300 levels in between. It's as much as from here to here. This step is here, right? As if users don't reach that event. Or 0.05% of users reach this event, so these are whales, you want to have that. And this event is very important because it increases the overall payout, right? And it serves as like this hard to reach like carrot on a stick that the users actually go for. And it also attracts the whales because this is what we want to do is very great for so-called whale fishing. And this is like this.
Are you taking questions at the end?
No, you can, please.
It's fantastic. I just worry that it's going to be regulated as gambling if it's not already.
Sorry again?
I worry it's going to be regulated as gambling if it's not already. Because if I'm a player, I'm tempted to keep on paying to get closer, either to make money or to reduce my losses, both of which sound like gambling to me.
Yeah, as I think like most things in digital marketing is a grey area. It's not really gambling because at the end no user needs to pay, right? They can get money always for free, and so
I mean, in the UK we have governmental intervention around loot boxes, which are less like because they actually pay you cash, just give you items.
Yeah.
But there's already in our second house of Parliament, there's like lords questioning video games, giving loot boxes with in-game items and buying cash to teenagers. And if it's giving actual cash, I mean, I guess this hasn't been challenged yet. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I want to try it. I'm trying to hear your opinion on whether any jurisdictions have started talking about this as being a regulated exercise.
Yeah, I mean, it already suffers from some in Australia, and except for New Zealand, you have very strict restrictions against this because the users are allowed to actually earn real money with it, right? Because then it's considered gambling. Reward platform has a lot of ways to bypass this. Some just pay you in gift cards, right? You get then a PlayStation Network card or a Google Play Store card as a gift card. So there are definitely ways around it. Like I said, this kind of user acquisition is really on vogue, working like this since 3 years. This is when it starts being possible through technical advancements. So for sure, the next 2 years, hopefully there will be more interest in that, and I think there will be more regulation. I hope in some sort, but right now it's not. Yeah. So great. So what we covered so far is we saw a little bit why what is rewarded to A, right? Why is it different? Why do we need to think different about it in the user funnel? How do we think different about it with the progression map? And what can we do with the insights from thinking about it differently with these sample tests? So once you implemented all the steps, the only question that should be left is when do we scale, how do we scale, what are the signals for that? And it's quite simple. So in rewarded to A, you always have a CPI, right? So cost per install, what you pay per user. This is a direct CPI, you pay a platform, I pay you $6, please make 10 out of it. Or you have your own structure, you pay users on your own, that is an estimated CPI. And it's pretty simple. If I increase my CPI from $6 to $7, we have a 50% drop in performance because we increase one part of the equation. Right, so the scaling signal you see is always take your new CPI divided by the old CPI, you have the expected drop, and if you can afford, in this case, 50% drop in performance, because you would reach your raw scale anyways, then it's time to scale. Because that's where you get more users, you get more data, you can leverage the learnings to other channels, and you're ready to make some money. Yeah. And that's about it. We have the QR code as a quick questionnaire, like a survey. You can give me an email if you want to receive the presentation. It's right now 20 slides, it used to be 50 slides. Maybe a little bit too detailed even. And there's also a questionnaire about how you like the talk, because I would like to improve. If you can fill out this, it would mean the world for me. Thank you so much. Any questions regarding rewarded UA, regarding what we just saw? What about it? No. Yes, that's good. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're meeting to run.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you around.
See you around. Yeah.